I've used Tinder plenty of times, and honestly, most dates were awkward at worst. But one night, I matched with someone who almost ended my life. Her name was Lily. Her profile looked normal. Cute smile, a few pictures of her hiking, and a short bio that just said, "I'm looking for something real." She messaged me first, which was rare. She said, "I feel like I already know you." That line made me pause, but I brushed it off as just a flirty opener. We talked for a few days, and she seemed perfect, funny, charming, and strangely intuitive. She'd guess things about me she shouldn't have known, like my favorite childhood candy, or the fact that I still sleep with a fan on every night. I never mentioned those things online, but I figured maybe I slipped up somewhere on social media. Eventually, she asked me to come over to her place for a late-night movie. She lived about 25 minutes away, down a series of winding back roads. I remember the drive vividly. The farther I got from the city, the weaker my GPS signal became. By the time I reached her neighborhood, my phone had no service. Her house sat at the edge of woods, an old one-story place with only a single light on inside. She greeted me at the door, but something felt off. She looked exactly like her pictures, but her smile never quite reached her eyes. Inside, the house was cold. No TV playing, no food out, nothing that suggested she was preparing for a guest. She motioned for me to sit on the couch, but instead of joining me, she stood in the corner of the room, just watching. After a long silence, she finally spoke. Her voice was lower than I expected, and she said, "You shouldn't have come." I laughed nervously, thinking that she was joking. However, she tilted her head in this unnatural, bird-like way and repeated, "You really shouldn't have come." I stood up, suddenly uncomfortable, and said, "Maybe we should just call it a night." That's when I noticed something that froze my blood. There were no family photos around, no decorations, but the walls, they were covered in dozens of Polaroids, and every single one of them was of me. Some were screenshots of my Tinder profile, some were pictures of me walking to work, and some were taken through my bedroom window. I stumbled backward, demanding to know what the hell this was, but she just smiled wider, her teeth looking sharper than before. Then she whispered, "I've been waiting for you." Before I could react, the lights flickered out, plunging the room into darkness. I heard rabid footsteps, not just hers, but multiple. It sounded like people pushing in from every direction. My fight or flight kicked in, and I bolted for the door. Somehow I managed to fling it open and sprint to my car. As I sped away, my heart pounding, I glanced in the rearview mirror. For just a split second, I swear I saw 3 figures standing at the edge of the road, watching me leave. One of them was definitely Lily, but I never went back. I deleted Tinder that same night, and here's the thing that keeps me up at night. A week later, I got a package in the mail. Inside was a single Polaroid of me driving away from that house, taken from the back seat of my car. I matched with him on Tinder on a boring Thursday night. His name was Ethan, and he looked almost too perfect. Everything you'd want to see in a person you just swiped right on. A sharp jawline, messy brown hair, and that half smile every girl would dream of. His profile said he loved hiking, horror movies, and dogs. And the first thing he messaged me was, "I feel like I've seen you before. Are you sure we haven't met?" Now normally, I'd roll my eyes at a line like that, but something about it made me curious. We talked for hours, and he was funny, charming, and somehow knew the exact things to say to keep me hooked. By the end of the night, he asked if I wanted to grab a coffee the next day. I almost said no. I mean, meeting a stranger that fast? But against my better judgment, I agreed. The next afternoon, I showed up at this little cafe, but he wasn't there. I waited 15 minutes, then 30. Finally, I messaged him, "Hey, are you still coming?" He replied instantly, "I'm already here. I've been watching you the whole time." My stomach dropped. I looked around. The cafe was small, just a handful of people, all strangers. I just typed back, "Where?" He responded with a photo. My heart stopped. It was me sitting at that very table, taken just seconds ago. I shoved my phone in my pocket and bolted out of there, scanning the crowd. But no one stood out. My pulse was racing. That night, he messaged me again. "You looked even prettier in person." I was so utterly creeped out by the thought of that message, I immediately blocked him. The next few days were quiet. I convinced myself it was some kind of sick prank. Maybe he catfished me with stolen photos. I started to feel normal again. But then, strange things started happening. One morning, I left for work and noticed my front door, it wasn't locked. I always locked it. Then I came home one night and found my bedroom window cracked open. The real terror came when I was brushing my teeth before bed. I leaned over the sink, looked up, and in the foggy bathroom mirror there was writing. Someone had traced the words with their finger on the glass. It said, "Told you I've seen you before." I swear, I nearly passed out. I ran out of the house and called the police. They searched everywhere but didn't find anyone. That night, I stayed at a friend's place. The next morning, I got another message. A new Tinder account. No profile picture, no bio, just a message. "You can block me 1,000 times. I'll always find you." I deleted Tinder, changed my number, even moved apartments a month later. After a while, it felt like it was over. No messages, no signs. I finally let myself breathe. Until last week, I was scrolling through Netflix, about to put something on, when I got a weird feeling. You know, when someone's watching you? I turned toward my window, and there it was. A single photograph taped to the glass. It was me, sleeping, in my new apartment. And written in the back in messy handwriting was just one sentence. "You were right. We hadn't met before, but now we have." It was Monday night, and I was bored like usual, scrolling Reddit and Tinder, and then I swiped onto a girl that looked normal, cute, nothing about her profile screamed red flag, just a couple of selfies, a dog pic, and a short bio that read, "I love late night drives and coffee that keep me awake until sunrise." Well, we ended up matching, and we hit it off quickly. She was flirty, witty, and honestly, it felt nice to talk to someone who seemed genuinely interested in me. By the next day, she suggested we meet up for coffee. You know, normally, I probably wouldn't want to meet someone the very next day after I just met them on Tinder, but it had been a while since I'd been on a date, so I was inclined to agree. That night, we met at a small cafe in town. She looked exactly like her pictures to my surprise. Long, dark hair, oversized hoodie, that kind of shy but playful smile. The conversation flowed easily at first. She asked me about my job, my hobbies, even my family. But then her questions started to feel off. She asked what time I usually left for work, what gym I went to, which grocery store I preferred, At one point, she leaned across the table and said, almost extremely casually, "What color are your bed sheets? I bet they're blue." I laughed it off as quirky, but the way she held eye contact when she said it, too long with too much intent, made me very uncomfortable. After about an hour, I made an excuse to leave. She didn't argue, but as I stood up, she said, "This was fun. Don't worry, I'll see you again." That's when things started getting very strange. The next morning, I went to my usual coffee shop before work. As I was waiting in line, I felt someone watching me. I turned, and there she was, sitting in the corner, hood pulled low, just staring. I hadn't told her where I lived, let alone where I got coffee. That night she messaged me, "You looked so cute this morning. That shirt looked amazing on you." From that point on, she was just everywhere. At the grocery store, I spotted her down the opposite aisle. At the gym, I caught her watching me in the mirror between sets. Even on my commute, I'd see her beat-up red sedan trailing a few cars behind. And the messages, well, they never stopped. The first one I received was, "I love the way you chew gum." And then, "You really shouldn't eat so late. It's bad for your stomach." And, "Blue sheets suit you better than gray." That one made me freeze. I had changed my sheets the night before, and I immediately just blocked her number, unmatched her on Tinder, deleted my account entirely, but she always found a way back. New numbers, private accounts, anonymous emails. Then came the night that broke me. I was walking home. It was extremely late and I was coming from work. My street dead silent. When I felt it, eyes on me, I turned, and there she was, at the end of the block, motionless, staring. I yelled at her to leave me alone, but she didn't move, didn't even blink. I bolted inside, locked every door and window, heart pounding so hard it hurt, and when I peeked out again, she was closer, halfway down the street. I called the police. My knife was in hand, but by the time they arrived, she was gone. She was nowhere around, no proof or evidence, just my word against the silence of the night. And then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. There were no sightings, no messages from her, and for months I began to think maybe she'd moved on. Maybe she was someone else's nightmare now. Maybe she was just someone crazy off of Tinder and I'd learned my lesson. But last week, I woke up to my phone buzzing on the nightstand. Unknown number. I immediately answered. There was silence at first, and then her voice, soft as a whisper. "I never moved on. You just stopped paying attention." And then the line went dead. Now every time I leave my house, every time I close my eyes, I wonder if she's still out there, watching, waiting for me, closer than I could ever imagine.